So we'll just recollect all the concepts we discussed yesterday. So we started with units and measurements, right? So what are units? Anybody? You can define it in your own words, whatever you have understood. Because I'm not going to ask the book definition.
Sir, it is internationally accepted reference.
That's right. You can say that. You can say that. It's just a name given, which is given after a measurement, a special name given after a particular measurement, so that we can universally understand what physical quantity we are trying to talk about, right? So after the units, we saw what are the different systems of units. So what are all the different systems of units that we discussed yesterday? One is FPS, CGS, MKS, MKSA, and SI system. In FPS system, how many base quantities did we have?
Three.
We had three, right? So that is the foot, pound, and second. Generally, the three base quantities are the mass, length, and time. Right? Mass, length, and time will be the basic physical quantities which are used as fundamental units in the FPS system. Similarly, in CGS system, MKS system. In MKS system, you had four, and the fourth one is nothing but current, electric current. Right. Whereas in SI system, how many base units are there? In SI system, there are seven. There are seven base units. So what are the seven base units? They are nothing but this table is there, no? So you have to remember them. Not required to be remembered in the order, but you need to remember them. One is length, mass, time, electric current, thermodynamic temperature, amount of substance, luminous intensity. So length is measured in meter, mass is measured in kilogram, time in seconds, electric current in ampere, thermodynamic temperature in Kelvin, amount of substance in mole, and luminous intensity in candela. Right. So these are all the base quantities. So any quantity which is written as a combination of base quantities is called as what? It has a name called as, which starts with D.
Derived quantity.
It is called a derived quantity. Derived quantity, or you call it as a derived unit. Right. So that also we have seen. Then you had something called as supplementary unit. So what are the supplementary units? I told you there are two. One is radian and second is steradian. So radian means is the plane angle, right? So what do we use radian for? So radian is used for plane angle. Yesterday I told you the mathematical definition for radian also. How is radian defined as? It is defined as the ratio of arc length to the radius. You will learn about this in your mathematics trigonometry as well. So it is arc length divided by the radius, which is going to give you the plane angle. Am I clear? So after this, so these are the rules that are to be followed. Okay, you can take them as rules of how you are supposed to write the SI unit. Okay, so the first one, if you take any physical quantity, the unit of every physical quantity should be represented according to its symbol. Okay, you know what is a symbol, right? So here observe, if you observe this table, just a minute. So if you observe this table, you have a name of a unit and you have a symbol associated with it. For example, meter, M-E-T-R-E is the name of the unit. Small m is the symbol which is used for meter. Kilogram, K-L-O-G-A-G-R-A-M is the name. Kg is used for symbol. Okay. So how you are supposed to write is what matters. Yesterday somebody was telling me seconds. I told you you're not supposed to use it. Right? You will get the reason for it today. See. Unit of every physical quantity should be represented according to its symbol. For example, meter means you will not sit and write its whole name, you will write it as M. Similarly, you should not use any full stop. You should not use any full stop within or at the end of the symbol. For example, if you have 5 kilogram, you should not write it as 5.k.g. Generally, kilo means 10 power 3. So kilo means 10 power 3. Okay, you should not write it as k.g or 5 kg dot like this, unless it is the end of a sentence. Even if it is the end of a sentence, you need to put that full stop by giving a space. Okay, so means you should write only in this way. 5 kg only should be written. This is wrong, and this is the only way in which you are supposed to write. Okay, these might appear to be like simple points, but these are very important because these kind of mistakes will appear. Second, now third point. Symbols for unit do not take plural form. For example, M is a symbol which is used to denote many meters. Okay, just because you have meter, for example, I have 1 meter means if you write it as M, if it is more than 1, you should not write it as MS, saying that this is meter. What does it stand for? What do you think this means? This will change the whole meaning.
Meter second.
No, it represents millisecond. You have to understand. For example, if it is 1 kilogram, if I write it as 1 kilogram, if I write 1 kgs, then what does this mean? It is kilogram second. See, somebody told me meter second, no? If I have to represent this as a meter second, then I should write it like this for me to understand. If I put a hyphen in between, and I can call it as meter second. But generally, we don't use hyphens and all. Okay, so if you write it like M into S, it is understood as millisecond. Whether it is 1 meter or 2 meters, you always use the symbol only M and leave it. You should not use S beside it, just because it's a plural. Okay, next. The unit of physical quantities in the numerator and denominator must be written as a single parameter, as 1:. For example, if you take the SI unit of acceleration, so the SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square. So you should not write it like, you can either write it as meter per second square or meter second power minus 2. Both are accepted. But you should not write it as meter per second per second. You should not write it like this, because this will become 1:, and this whole thing will become another ratio. You should write it as a single quantity, a single ratio. That's the meaning. For example, you have kilogram meter per second square. You should not write it as kilogram meter per second, the whole divided by second, because this will become 1:, this whole thing will become another ratio. Okay, so there's one more point to be kept in your mind. And the last important point is, if it is a full name of, if you're writing the full name of the unit, for example, ampere. Okay, if you're writing the full name of the unit, you can either write it like this or like this. Right, out of these two, which one do you think is preferred?
Small.
So when you write it in the full form, you should always start with the lowercase. Even if it is the name of a scientist, see, ampere is actually the name of a scientist. Even if it is the name of a scientist, it should always start in the lowercase. You should not write it like this. Whereas when you use the symbol, so what is the symbol of ampere? It is A. So the symbol should be capital, whereas when you write the expansion of it, it should be small. That is the meaning. Okay. So full name of a unit, when it is used after the name of a scientist, should not be written with a capital letter. But the symbol for that unit has a capital letter. For example, Newton is an other example. So Newton, I should write it as Newton when I write it in full form, whereas when I write it in the symbolic form, I should write it as capital N. So I hope it is clear, right? Is it clear?
Sir.
Okay. Next. See, this how is the measurement of length done, these things and all, we'll see it at the end. However, this parallax method we'll see it at the end, because it is too much of theory. Okay. So till now, whatever we discussed was about units. Okay. The next concept, that what is the name of the chapter? It is units and measurements, right? So till now we saw what are units. Now we will be concentrating on what is a measurement, right? So where is the importance of this chapter? I told you yesterday, where do you apply it mostly? So what are supplementary units are other than the base and the fundamental, derived units. They are not used for writing any of the symbols. Okay, yesterday I told you, no, where is this chapter used mostly? Where do you use it? I took some example also with respect to Ohm's law. You mainly use it in the lab, right? So what do you do in the lab? You measure things. You do experiments to measure things, right? So now we are going to concentrate on a concept called as measurement. Are you guys able to listen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you talk about a measurement, okay, when you talk about a measurement, there are two important points to be kept in your mind. So two important questions will be asked. How accurate your measurement is and how precise your measurement is. Okay. So I'm repeating it again. How, 1 minute. Just give me a second. My device got disconnected. Just a minute, guys. You can just go through the concept of accuracy and precision from the sheet which I shared it with you. So what are the two important terms I told you? One is accuracy and the second is precision. So what do you mean by accuracy? So name itself is suggesting you something.
The closeness of a value to the actual value of the quantity which we measure.
Okay.
How accurate?
So how accurate? That's see if we speak in terms of basic language, it is how accurate the value is. But for you to know how accurate the value is, you need to have a reference. Am I right? So you need to have a reference of it. For example, let's say I'll switch on. See, suppose I have a tube. Okay. Suppose I have a tube of length L. Let's take a pipe. Pipe, that's it. Suppose I have this. There is a PVC pipe. Okay. So you're able to see this, right? So open image in a new tab. Now I'm saying your activity. I'm giving you an activity saying that I want you to measure the length of this pipe and tell me. Okay. Now I am the person who is going to decide whether your answer is accurate or not. How will I know? So how will I be able to say whether the answer you report to me is accurate or not? Or how can I judge it?
Sir, you already have some values fixed in your
That
mind.
is what. So I'll not have it fixed in the mind. I would have already done the experiment, or like when I bought it from the shop itself, I would have calculated the exact value. Okay, I'm giving you a very simple activity. Now you are going to repeat this activity, and when you do it, no. So I asked you yesterday, when you do any particular experiment or activity, will you do it only once? Will you do it only once? Generally, how many times will you try to repeat it?
2 to 3 times.
2 to 3 times? Okay. There are more number of times you are going to repeat, it is going to be more accurate. See, I'm just sharing my video, okay? Observe. You're able to see me, right? See, if say there's a pipe. Now I'm asking you to measure the length of this pipe. Okay. So let's say there's a PVC pipe which I got from the shop. Generally, how do you get it? You will have a very long wire, a very long pipe. They would have cut it, right? They would have cut it, and you would have got that particular pipe. So when you do that experiment, if it is sometimes what will happen is when they cut it wrong, you will have an irregular shape here. Let's assume. I hope you're able to visualize what I'm trying to say. Let's say it is cut in this way. It is not cut exactly parallel. Let's say it is slightly cut in this way, which we are not able to see with the normal eyes. We are assuming that it is perfect, but there is a small error in it. Okay, generally what it happens. So how are you going to do this experiment? What you will do is you will try to measure from this end to this end, and you will note down one reading. Let's say you are getting it as 10 centimeter. Okay. Then what you can do is you can rotate it and try to measure it from some other side. Okay. So what will happen? Let's say when you're doing it for the first time, if you're getting the reading as 10.1 centimeter, if there is some irregularity in the shape, okay, then what would happen? Will you still get 10.1? If there is a slight slanting portion like this, when you try to measure the distance between these 2 points, will you still get it as 10.1?
Value will change a little bit.
Value will change. It will not be exactly 10 point. You might get 10.2 centimeter provided it is having a slant in the upward direction. Right. Similarly, again you're rotating it. You're rotating in such a way that you're stopping at a point which is having more slant. Then you might get the reading as 10.3 centimeter. Okay. Like this, you're keeping on rotating and trying to take at least, let's say you're taking 6 readings. So sometimes you might get the reading as 9.9 centimeter. You might get something like this, right? So what is going to be the true value of it? What do you mean by true value?
Average. If you take the average, it will
True value, or you will actually call it as actual value. These are the two terms that are used in the measurements. Okay, so true value or actual value is nothing but you take the average of it depending on the number of times you repeat this experiment. Okay, 10.1, 10.2, so on till, let's say you're repeating it 5 times. I divided it 5. Whatever is the answer, I'm not concerned about. Okay, you're getting one particular answer. I already have an answer in my hand. Okay. Let us say I already have answer in my hand. I am saying my answer is 10.025 centimeter. I am trying to say that this is the right reading. Generally, when you write it in the record, you take and you go to the teacher, right? They tell this should be the reading. No, not everybody will get the same answer. Okay, 10.025. Suppose 4 of you are coming and reporting the answer to me. If suppose one person says it is 10.1 centimeter, other person is saying 10.08 centimeter, the other person is saying 10.05 centimeter, then I will take 10 point, let's say 12 centimeter, and someone is saying 10.001 centimeter. Now whose reading will I take into consideration? Now what will I start doing?
So you take the average value and see who.
I will not take average. Why would I take average? You have already done average. No, the student would have done the experiment 5 times. They would have taken average, and they are telling me that this is the value they got after doing the experiment 5 times. So student.
So fifth one, sir.
The one I will take the value which is almost close to the value which I already have. Right. So this is going to be the reference value. Means I have already set the standard. This is going to be the reference value. I will start comparing all your readings with this particular value. So whosoever is bringing a value which is close to this one, you might get exactly, you might not get exactly, but you can be close to it. So whosoever is close to it, I will call that reading to be the accurate reading. Because see, I'm stressing on this point, observe it. How close a particular reading is close to the actual value is what is called as an accurate reading. Are you able to understand? So accuracy of the measurement is a measure of how close the measured value. So you people measured a value which is close to the true value. True value is the one which I have. That is 10.025 is the true value. These are all the measured values by different people. You're able to understand? But one thing is clear from this. If anybody does the experiment, not see, let's say 10 people are doing the same experiment, not everybody is going to get the same answer. There will be some error. That is natural. That is what the next topic is about. Okay. So are you people clear with accuracy? Because accuracy and precision will be very close to each other. You'll have a small confusion. Are you clear with what is accuracy? This is sitting in your mind. You're able to visualize what it is.
Yes, sir.
Right. Then what does precision mean? It is almost similar only. What does precision mean? I'm saying how precise your value is. So accuracy, precision, they sound to be similar. But what do you think is precision?
Act of being exact or quality, anything.
If being exact is not possible, I told you. Nobody can be accurate because error is possible in all the
Act
measures.
of being exact.
Sorry?
The limit up to which a number is written.
The limit up to which a number is written. You're almost there. You're almost there. See. So for this measuring the length of this pipe, how do I measure the accuracy? You will do the experiment, bring certain readings to me. I will try to compare which value is close. I will tell whether your reading is accurate or not. But how will I conclude whether your reading is precise or not? How I do is,
Resolution.
see, you know the word resolution. Where did you hear this word resolution? Where do you see it? In a real life, where do you hear resolution? That's a good term what you use, but can you give me an example of that? This resolution is used. In certain ads you'll be hearing that.
In mobile, I mean in screens, photos.
In screens and photos you speak about resolution. What does that resolution mean? How many pixels are there in a particular square area?
Screen resolution.
Okay. Let's not complicate things. Okay, that's the screen resolution. When you buy a TV, you'll ask, no, what is the resolution of the screen? You'll try to compare two TVs and do all those things. So you're checking what is the precision of the particular. Okay, that's another way to understand. But let's try to make things simple so that everybody is able to understand. Let's not go to resolution concept. I'll put the concept very simple. If suppose I have
Quantity.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Can you repeat?
It is the limit of the quantity which is getting measured.
What do you mean by limit of a quantity? For example, I'm putting the question on a basic level. If I ask you, out of all these things, which one is more precise reading? What will you say? The more accurate reading.
10.001.
10 point?
001.
Yes, that is precise reading. Why is it so?
Because there is a minimum limit.
What is that limit? That is what I want to know. So 10.001 is the most precise reading. I will tell you why it is so. Okay, try to understand the difference. Because accuracy and precision, I'm repeating it again, you will get confused. So concentrate. If suppose I want to measure the length of this tube, okay, if I want to measure the length of this pipe, what will you use? What are all the simple measuring devices that you people know?
Measuring tape.
You can take a measuring tape, or you can take a regular scale which you use in your lab, used to draw the lines and all those things. It is up to you, no? I'm no one to say that you use only this thing. I'm only saying you measure and give me. Whatever instrument you want, you can use it. If suppose I'm using a scale like this, okay? So general scale. I'll call it as a plastic or 1 meter scale. 1 meter scale. This you can find it in your lab. Suppose you are using this wooden scale. So one side the reading will be in terms of centimeter, the other side it will be in terms of inches. Right. Again, this part also I'm leaving it to you. I'm not forcing you, saying that you have to report the answer on, okay, here I've taken in centimeter, right? Okay. It's up to you again. Now what I can do is, this is not that clear. So if you people have scale in your hand, just take and see. Now what you can do is, suppose you have a pen in your hand, try to measure the length of the pen using a scale. Okay. So when you look at the scale, how will the readings between the centimeters be? So when you have it here, 0 starts here, right? You have 0 here, right? You have 1, 2, it keeps on going like this. Okay. See, this 1 is not 1 centimeter. You have, okay, I'll take it like this. See. So 0. How many lines will you have before 1 centimeter? So you will have 1 like this. Then you will have 2 like this. Like this, let's say you have a 15 centimeter scale in your hand. Okay. See, when you're trying to measure this length, so what will you do? How will you start measuring it? You will keep the 0 at one of the points. You'll keep as a reference point. What can happen at the other end? Let us assume this is less than 15 centimeter. Okay. That scale is sufficient for you to measure. Then what are all the challenges you might face?
Our
See,
measurement may be wrong because the tip is there is a tip in the other end.
Okay. Why do you think it will be wrong? And when is there a possibility for it to become wrong? So you're almost there, but I'll clear what you're trying to say. See, suppose this is the length, this is the pen which you have in your hand. Okay, you will fix the 0 of the scale here. Let's say it is falling somewhere around 10. Okay, so you will have those lines, no? So each line is how many centimeters? Each line is how many centimeters? This line is how many centimeters? So this is 1 centimeter. It is 1/10 of a centimeter, or you can call it as 1 millimeter. Right? So you will exactly fix this end. So concentrate, okay? You exactly fix 0 of the scale here, and here let us say the reading, if it is falling exactly at 10 or 9.9, it is not an issue, right? But what if the reading is falling between 9.9 and 9.9 and 10? Suppose when you zoom and see, 9.9 is here, 10 is here. Let's say the other tip is somewhere over here. How will you report the answer? I will show you. See. Let's say 9. If it is falling exactly at 9.9, no issue. If it is exactly falling at 10, no issue. But if it is falling between 9.9 and 10, if it is somewhere over here, what answer will come and tell me?
So the precision of the measurement of the scale is not precise, sir.
Closeness.
Measurement of the scale is not precise. Okay, accepted. The closeness means you will say if it is close to 9.9, you will report the answer as 9.9. If it is close to 10, you will say it as 10. That's what you're going to do, right? Mithun, is that what you're trying to say? So when you try to zoom and see like this, according to my diagram, it is close to 9.9. So maybe you can report the answer as 9.9. Okay. See, this error is occurring. So one thing is clear. We are not able to report the exact answer. Are you clear with this? You are not able to report the exact answer. Is that mistake because of you or because of the instrument?
Instrument.
It is because of the instrument. Right? Similarly, instead of you using the scale, so what is the one which you have in your geometry box? That scale has 10 divisions between 1 centimeter. Right? What if I give you a scale in such a way? What if I give you a scale in such a way that you have 10 more lines between 1 millimeter itself? So this is 0, this is 1 millimeter. You're able to visualize this is 1 millimeter. This is where 1 centimeter is. I'm zooming and showing. So if between 1 centimeter itself you have 10 more lines, will you be able to get an accurate answer?
Yes.
Will you be, rather than using the word accurate, will you be able to get more precise answer?
Yes, sir.
right? So suppose between 9.9 and 10 I have 10 more divisions, then this will coincide with any one of the lines. And how will you report the answer as? I will report it as 9.91. I can report it like this. Whereas the other person who does not have these 10 divisions, he will report the answer as either 9.9 or 10. So whose answer is more precise? Obviously that 9.91 is going to be more precise, right? So accuracy is a parameter which depends on how you do the experiment, okay? Whereas precision has something to do with the measuring instrument. You're able to understand? So if you are able to report your answer to more number of decimal points, your answer will be more precise. More is your precision, more is the possibility of your answer to be accurate. So precision depends on whom? Precision, it depends on the measuring instrument. Okay, even for the measuring instrument, there is a concept called as least count. So what do you mean by least count is the immediate value you are able to measure after 0 is what is called as least count. For example, if I ask you about the scale, the plastic scale, if I ask you what is the least count of it, what will you say? So after 0, what was the reading of the first line that you had? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th line will be 1 centimeter. Right. So this is, if it is on 15 centimeter scale like this is your 0. If I ask you the least count of this instrument, what will you say? After 0, if this value is being measured, 0.1 what? You mean it's 0.1 centimeter.
Centimeter.
No, centimeter or 1 millimeter. You able to understand?
Yes,
So
sir.
the least count of this instrument is 0.1 centimeter or 1 millimeter. If suppose I told you one device, no. If this 1 millimeter itself is broken into 10 more divisions, then what would have been the least count of that instrument? Then what would have been the least count of that instrument? 0.01 centimeter or 0.1 millimeter.
0.1 millimeter.
You are able to understand? So this is the meaning of precision. So if you need to have your answer more precise, what is that you need to have? You need to have a more accurate instrument in your hand to do that particular experiment. Whereas accuracy depends on how you do that experiment. Is it clear? So this is all about accuracy and precision. Okay. But one thing I told you, so that's why I told you, see, there are some important points that are given. You need not worry about what is the screw gauge or vernier caliper as of now. You will see it in the lab once things are normal. Okay, as of now, don't worry about what it is. If needed, we'll discuss it later. So, in the measurement of any physical quantity with accuracy, what are all the important points? The skill of the person doing the experiment, like how accurate you are doing the experiment is very important. You should be very careful while you are doing the experiment. Second, the quality of the instrument that is used. Quality, when I say, there are certain possibilities that instruments will have an error. So, how is it possible for an instrument to have an error? So, suppose it is a 1 centimeter scale, like 15 centimeter scale. Between 1 centimeter, I need to have 10 divisions which are equally spaced. If suppose I have an instrument where the distance between first two lines is this much, and the distance between the second line and the third line is this much. Is this instrument accurate? Because
No, sir.
this should be 1 millimeter. This value, if I'm able to see itself, I'm able to say that it is more than 1 millimeter. This instrument is not accurate, so I cannot use it for my experiment. Okay, these are all the factors you need to have in your mind while you're doing it. Okay, then the third is the method used for measurement. That is again a theoretical part, what ideas you are using. Then again, you have something called as the external and the internal factors that are affecting the result of the experiment. Okay, external factor in the sense it can be the climatic conditions, it can be the temperature of the particular room, it can be the lighting in that particular room. If suppose you are doing an experiment to calculate refractive index, the lighting factor is very important, or else other lights will get mixed. So these are all the techniques that you need to understand. Is it clear till this step? So this is all about accuracy and precision. Is there anyone having a doubt with this? So if you're clear with this, we can proceed to the next topic. Okay. So the next topic, as I told you, every particular measurement has error in it. But you should learn the technique of how to the error. Before that, you need to know what are all the types of errors that can occur. So errors generally occur because of our mistakes, or it is because of the climatic conditions, or it is because of the instrument. It can be of any sort. So based on the type of the error that is occurring, okay, based on what factor the error is occurring, the errors are classified into two types. So mainly, if you look at the topic errors in measurement. So when you try to measure different physical quantities in the lab with the help of different apparatus, there would be some inaccuracies in the measurement. That inaccuracy is what we call it as error. Okay, the inaccuracy in the measurement is what is called as error. In physics, if you see, the errors are broadly classified into two types. What are they? One is systematic error and the second is random error. Okay. So what are systematic errors? So systematic errors means if you are able to define those two types of errors that tend to be only in one direction, then can either be positive or negative. Okay. So those type of errors cannot be positive and negative simultaneously. These type of errors are generally called as zero error. For example, you have seen a spring balance. Have you guys seen a spring balance?
Yes, sir.
Why is a spring balance used? Let me take a more accurate one. What does a spring balance measure? What does it do?
To measure the weight.
Is it only weight?
Also the force acting on it.
Weight is force only. Weight and force are the same. Weight is the force with which the earth is trying to pull the object towards its center. So it measures mass and force. So it measures both mass and weight. I can put it like this. Okay, the force is technically what is called as weight. So generally, if you see, mass can either be measured in grams or kilograms or anything. Then the spring balance is mainly used for measuring in grams. It cannot withstand heavy weight. So how it works is actually, it will have a spring inside. So when you try to suspend a weight, what happens is the spring will get elongated. As a result of which it is stop. At that particular point, you can see the reading. So when you take a spring balance, generally when you don't suspend any weight, okay, when you don't suspend any weight, where should the pointer be? I'll show you another diagram. It is not clear. Not able to see. Wait. Okay. Okay. This is one spring balance. There is another spring balance. Can you tell me? We'll do a small comparative study. We are going to analyze about the missions. Like, what do you think is the difference? Can you tell me two differences? Forget about the GF. Forget about GF. Let us assume it is grams. Don't tell me that is a difference.
Sir, in the first picture, pointer is
Blue or green?
blue.
In the blue, what is it?
Exactly at 0, and
Okay.
in green it is not exactly at 0, it's above 0.
So which instrument will have the possibility to give us more accurate reading?
Blue, sir.
The blue one will give, because when no mass is suspended, where is it supposed to be? It is exactly supposed to be at 0, because that's the meaning, right? 0 mass is suspended. Whereas what is happening here is, so the second instrument is having some error associated with it. This error is what is called as a systematic error. Okay. So if you ask me to give a sign to it, what did we say? Systematic errors can either be positive or negative. So if some reading is above 0 when no load is suspended, then that type of an error is called as a negative error. Okay. Now I'll ask you a question. Tell me. Think and tell me. Okay. If suppose I am taking a 10 gram mass, I am suspending it across both the spring balances. Now, how much reading will this show? Will the blue color one show? If I suspend 10 grams of mass, I know I have 10 grams of mass in my hand. If I suspend 10 grams of mass across the blue one, how much mass will it? How much reading will it show?
10 grams, sir.
It will exactly show 10 grams. Where it will show 10 grams, right?
Yeah.
What about the second green color one? The green color one, will it show less than 10 grams, more than 10 grams, or equal to 10 grams?
Less than 10 grams.
Less than 10 grams. Why is it happening? Because there is some error in it. What error is that? It is a negative error. So, for example, let us say it is showing a reading of, 9.8 grams. Then, how much is the negative error that is present in it? So, actually, what is the mass that I suspended? I suspended 10 grams. But what is the reading from? It is having an error of minus 0.2 gram. Okay, it is because it is having a negative error. So minus 0.2 gram means it is above the 0 before the mass is suspended, even before the load is suspended. So whenever you have a negative error, to get the exact value, so the spring balance shows 9.8, you know that the negative error is minus 0.2 grams. So what should I do to the negative error to this 9.8 to get 10? Should I add or subtract?
Add.
Add. Negative errors are always added. Okay. Similarly, had the reading been here, had the pointer been here even before the weight was suspended, what would have happened? It would have had an error called as positive error. Right? It would have had an error of positive value. Then how much will be the reading that it will show? It will show 10.2 grams. But what is the exact mass that you suspended? But you suspended only 10 grams, no? So what are we supposed to do to the positive error? Positive error should be subtracted from the reading. Negative error should be added to the reading. Is it clear? Is it clear? See, for example, when you go to a grocery shop, they'll place, you take the groceries in a small tub. Like you go to a vegetable shop, for example, you take vegetables and put it in a small basket kind of stuff. What will they do to the basket first? They'll click on something called as star drive. Have you ever? They'll first place that basket and then they'll press on a button. Have you ever observed this? If not, next time you do it. Why are they doing it?
The basket will have.
If suppose you are buying, let's say you want to get some carrot for 1 kilogram, you would have picked something for 1 kilogram. If I measure the weight along with the basket, what would have happened? Will you get more carrots or less carrots?
Less carrots.
Because you have a positive error. You have already added some mass even before you have put the carrots into the basket. So you have to subtract it. To subtract it only, what they do is they first make it 0 and then start taking the readings. Okay, this chapter has real-time application also. I hope you're able to understand. Right? So that's the first in the systematic error, the first type of error that we are going to speak about is the instrumental error, which I already explained it to you. Is it clear? So instrumental error, I hope it is clear. It is the error which is there in the instrument even before the reading has started. Okay. Second, then systematic error might occur due to the imperfection in the experimental technique or procedure. Okay. So the example is given there. For example, if you want to measure the temperature of human body, you keep it under your tongue, right? You keep the thermometer under your tongue. So that is going to give you the exact reading. If you place it exactly on top of the tongue, what do you think will happen? Do you think it will show you the body temperature?
No, sir.
Shows the
There will be an error because the expansion of mercury, you use a mercury thermometer, the expansion of mercury will not happen evenly. That will not happen. That is the reason why you will get an error. So that is happening. It is not because of the instrument's error. That instrument is working fine, but you followed a wrong technique to find. Right. That is what. So these are all the reasons why systematic errors can occur. And the last one is personal error. So personal error is because it might occur because you are not taking the readings properly. In the sense, when we take, see for example, when we try to measure the length, we'll go back to that pen experiment, measuring the length of a pen. So when you're trying to measure the length of a pen, you have the scale, no? So generally when you draw the graph, for example, let me switch on the camera. See, observe. See, if suppose you are using a scale, I ask you to draw a line of exactly 0.5 centimeter. Will you casually sit like this and draw? See, if this is a paper, will you place your scale casually like this and draw 5 centimeter, or you will go and see from the top and draw?
See from
What
the
exactly
top.
do you do? You see from the top, no? So generally, if you try to sit like this, you can do this and see, you will get some error. If you do this kind of, if you casually sit and try to draw, no, you will land up drawing either greater than 5 centimeter or less than 5 centimeter. There will definitely be an error that is occurring. That is happening because of your mistake. That's why that type of an error is called as personal error. Okay. So that is because of your carelessness, or you can take anything. So those type of errors sometimes are called as parallax error also. And I don't want to use a technical name. It is called as personal error. As of now, let's accept what personal error is. Okay. So that's what the point is given there. We'll just try to read out what it means. Okay. So error occurs due to an individual bias, carelessness in taking observations, or improper setting of the apparatus. So systematic errors can be, you can try to minimize the systematic errors. How can you do that? By improving the experimental techniques. You should know how to handle the apparatus properly. And secondly, you can select high quality instruments. And the third is you can be more careful. So these are all the ways in which the systematic errors can be eliminated. So what are the errors are classified as two types? What are they? Systematic and random errors. Under systematic, you have three types of errors. What are they? Instrumental, error due to imperfection, and the third is personal error. Okay. Now, what do you think random errors are? Random errors are not under our control. For example, I can give you the best example again. When you're trying to measure the resistance, right? Again, we'll go back to Ohm's law. When you're trying to measure the resistance of the particular conductor that is given to you, you need to ensure that the room is maintained at a particular temperature. Because you learn it next year, the resistance of a conductor depends on temperature. It increases with temperature. Okay. So you would have learned this thing, no, R is equal to rho into L by A. So resistance depends on what? It depends on the length of the conductor, area of cross section. In addition to these two factors, it also depends on temperature. So resistance will increase with increase in temperature for a conductor. So if the temperature is not maintained properly, there is a high possibility that you will land up with wrong readings. Okay. So that is one of the things. So here, see, random errors are those errors which arise due to the irregular or unpredictable fluctuations in the factors affecting the measurement during the experiment. Okay. So one more simple example, what I can do is, I'll show you for you to see. If suppose Just give me a second. See, suppose my experiment is to measure the length of this paper. I have a paper in my hand. Okay. I want to measure the length of this paper, this side. I want to measure the paper. So what should I do? Let's say I'm holding it like this. I'm holding it like this, and what you are going to do is, you are going to place the scale from here to here and you will start measuring it. But I have switched on my fan, due to which what can happen is the paper might fly like this. So when it is continuously flying like this, will you be able to take a perfect reading of this? See, for example, if I hold it casually like this, if I ask you to take a reading, I'm holding it like this, you will be able to take. Whereas if I leave it, I casually leave it, it is vibrating like this. Will you be able to take a reading? So, you will not be, because what is the name of this error? What is the type of error that is occurring here? Is it a systematic error or a random error?
Systematic.
It is a random error. It is occurring because why it is not your mistake or my mistake. My room's temperature is wrong. My room's climatic condition is not suiting this experiment. I switched on the fan. Due to the fan, it is flying like this. Right? So that is the reason I am not able to take it. So it is a random error.
No, sir, you switched on the fan, right? You switched on the fan,
Sorry?
right? You switched on the
Yeah,
fan.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Sir, how can it be random, sir? Then it's personal, right? Because
It's not personal error. It is not personal error. But see, I still have if I switch off the fan, if I hold it like this, see, personal error means what should happen is, once you take the reading, you're not measuring it perfectly. Let's say it is coming out as 18 centimeter. This 18 centimeter, you're supposed to exactly go parallel and see 18 centimeter where it is coinciding. Sometimes what you will do, you will casually sit like this and do it out of laziness. That is personal. So random error means if the climatic conditions which are not controlled, due to which it is happening, then we call it as random error. See, I have taken the simple example for you to understand. Okay, I have taken the simple example only for you to understand. I can give you a better example. If suppose if I'm asking you to measure the temperature of this paper. Okay, if you measure the temperature now, you will get a particular value. If you measure the temperature after some time, you will get a particular value. If you measure it in the morning, you will get some other value. Right? So what is happening? You're not maintaining the temperature of the room properly, and the errors are occurring randomly because of the climatic conditions. So to put it in simple terms, the errors which are occurring due to the climatic conditions are what are called as random errors. Okay? So that is the meaning. Try to read the statement. Observe it. So systematic, where is it? So due to the irregular and unpredictable fluctuations in the factors affecting the measurement during the experiment. These factors can either be positive or negative. Such errors can be estimated by taking many observations and then taking their average. That is, you repeat the experiment multiple number of times and then you try to take the average. So till here, it is all about the introduction of accuracy, precision and errors. So from tomorrow, we can understand how do you estimate the errors, how do you calculate it. Okay. So this is the part where mathematical calculations will start. So try to understand this. By next week, I'll complete this chapter. So every chapter maximum I'll take 2 weeks to complete it. Okay. So in the meanwhile,